Hello, welcome to the Brooks Avenue Church of Christ streaming edition. My name is Jeremy Guerin, and I am the youth minister here. Typically, on a Sunday around this time of year, we have what we call Senior Day. It's a day where we celebrate our seniors, our graduating seniors. What normally happens is that I would preach on this day, and then we would have all the seniors come up and, would give them a rousing round of applause. And then right after services, we would go into the gym and have a banquet in their honor. The families of the juniors would help to prepare this time. The food would be wonderful and chosen by our seniors. That typically means, we're going to get some really good stuff. Macaroni and cheese, awesome. A whole lot of candy bars, that's really cool too. It's just always been super, super cool. Something we've always been excited about in a typical year. Unfortunately, as you all know, 2020 is anything but a typical year. Now, we are going to try to do something today. That is, if you are indeed watching this on Sunday, the 7th of June, the plan is that today we're going to have something called a drive-by blessing. What is going to happen is that at 3 o'clock, the juniors and their families and whoever wants to help is going to show up at Brooks to start setting up tables in our parking lot. No later than 3:30, the seniors and their families will show up, pick a table, and they can set up whatever decorations that they want. And that way at 4 o'clock, we all, members of the congregation, whoever else wants to, quite frankly, you will be able to drive through the parking lot and honk and scream in celebration. Congratulations to our seniors, showing them this fun support. Each family, we're trying to do this at least, will have a gopher, and their job is to go from their family table to your car. And whatever gifts or cards or gift cards you want to give, well, the gopher will take it from you and we'll go and we'll put in the family's gift basket. We're trying to observe as best as we can all the social distancing quarantine protocols, while at the same time be able to take advantage of this opportunity to celebrate our seniors. Now, if you wouldn't mind, please turn with me over to Romans chapter 12, starting in verse 9. That is Romans 12, starting in verse 9. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Now please listen. Verse 15. Rejoice with those who rejoice, and mourn with those who mourn. Continuing on, live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. This is a really interesting passage, particularly verse 15. Rejoice could also be worded as celebrate with those who celebrate, and mourn with those who mourn. It's very dynamic because if you think about it, it really cuts to the heart of what it should mean to love each other, which is what this whole passage is about. This could very easily be read at a lot of senior Sundays around the country. Celebrate with those who celebrate. At weddings, at banquets, at any moment where it is appropriate to honor another human being. Celebrate with those who celebrate. But you could use the same passage at a funeral. Mourn with those who mourn. At a wake, at any moment in a person's life where there is pain, mourn with them. My name is Jeremy Guerin, and I've never had a bad day. Never. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. First off, if you've ever heard me preach at Brooks Avenue before, you're saying, yeah, we know. I repeat myself a lot. Repetition is good. Yeah, we know, we get it. Still, there's a lot of people who are listening to this. Another reaction could be then, why are you preaching? If your life has been so easy, you do not understand the plight of me. Fair point. I couldn't disagree with that at all. However, for those who know me, right now, you're sitting back and you're saying, ha, 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 Jeremy's a liar. You are lying to everyone. And I know this because I was there on that day, Jeremy. Or I know about that day, Jeremy, when that happened to you. I know about that day, Jeremy. I know about that day. I was there for that day, Jeremy. I saw the days for you that were bad, which hopefully will explain to those, who thought, well, why are you preaching? You've never been through anything. How can you understand? So, Jeremy, with all that being said, how can you say you've never had a bad day? Because never having a bad day means that you've never had a bad year. 2020. As I said, my name is Jeremy Guerin, and I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, and I believe in the Holy Spirit, and I believe that every day that I wake up and God is still King of heaven and earth, it is impossible for that to be a bad day. And quite frankly, on the day that I don't wake up, that is anything but a bad day for me. It's going to be a tough day for some of y'all. I won't say it. It's going to be a tough day for some of y'all, but for me, brothers and sisters, I'm going to heaven. Y'all have fun. I'll see you when you get there. But I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. Some days are better than others. Or another way that probably fits a little bit better to say this would be, some days are tougher than others. I refuse to concede that makes it a bad day. For me to be a bad day, that means Satan has won completely. No believers, no hope. Satan has won, and I don't believe that day will ever happen. I really don't. I believe that God is always going to be king of heaven and earth. But some days are tougher than others. And quite frankly, 2020 will always be known as one of the toughest years that our country, and maybe even the world, has ever dealt with. It's not the worst. At least I hope not. I mean, keep in mind, it is just June, but come on. That being said, it's tough. Because we started this year with something that seems minuscule, but I hope it's not. We started this year with the death of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, when he was killed in a helicopter crash with his daughter and several other people. That was awful. And if you're not a sports person and this part doesn't speak to you, understand that just because it doesn't speak to you directly, it should speak to you indirectly because of how many of your brothers and sisters it hurt. For over 20 years, we followed this teenager into adulthood, into a family man. And we saw his amazing accomplishments on and off the court. Man, it feels like that's been over a decade ago. That was, what, February? Early February, I think? And then, there were whispers. And then rumors. And then the reality of COVID-19. And that in of itself, if that was the end of it, that is enough to make this one of the craziest and most depressing years in American history. Especially, going back to it, for our seniors. Guys, keep in mind that our seniors and so many people in various degrees of life were robbed of their rites of passage, something that psychologically is important to every single culture. Ours looks different, but they're still important. No graduation ceremonies, no banquets, no proms. And that's not just for the seniors. That's also for our little people who went from elementary school that are going to be going into the middle schools, or the middle to junior high to high, the high school to college. So many things we have lost on. And we've seen the statistics of the domestic violence dramatically rise as we were basically forced into our homes with protocol after protocol. And man, it just got weird from there. Again, I do my best. Don't do the politics thing. But at the same time, it does affect us. It does affect our hurt. Whether you were on the extreme right or the extreme left, Facebook became a war zone. Social media became a war zone. And it hurt. It hurt. Millions lost their jobs. Thousands died. But it's still going on. It's starting to get better, but it's still going on. It has been months since most churches or groups of people have been able to gather together. And you still can't hug. You still aren't supposed to shake hands because it's still a threat. And then the world watched in horror as an innocent man. And from my understanding and hearing from a lot of the brothers and sisters in Houston, a godly man who loved Jesus, who loved his people, was killed, was murdered by a corrupt police officer. Surrounded by a few other police officers that didn't do anything. And we watched as he pleaded for air. And we watched as he died. And not only that, all those hurtful and anger-inducing and painful memories that brought right back up to the surface. Because it probably should have. The atrocities, the hurt, the depression, the inequalities. And again, this isn't about politics. The one thing that on anybody's mind should be that people are hurting. So mourn when they mourn. You don't have to understand it all. We can have a conversation later on if you want to. For right now, mourn as our black brothers and sisters are mourning. And not just them, it's hurting a lot of people. And I'm going to get to the positives later. I'm fearful about this next part of my conversation with you because it could definitely be construed the wrong way. If it is, then I completely apologize. That's just because I'm not very good at this. Yeah, it is true. Again, I'm going to get to the positives in a little bit, but we're not talking about positives right now. We watched also in horror as millions of Americans' livelihood was burned to the ground. As people were dragged out of their places of businesses and beaten with 4x4s, and in many cases, killed, murdered. And we've watched as police officers, hopefully trying to stand for good and equality, police officers are assassinated. Guys, you watch all this stuff, and you really have to start wondering, is this by definition a bad year? Did Satan win? Once upon a time, from what we understand to be a Friday night, leading into Saturday, Jesus Christ was crucified, and it looked like Satan won. But I heard it preached many, many times that people didn't understand. Yeah, it's Friday, but Sunday's coming. Because the grave did not hold him. Death could not hold him. Evil could not hold him. On the third day, Jesus rose. And he had many more miracles. He had many more teachings. And he gave this message just by his resurrection that he has won and will continue to win. Guys, right now, this whole year might feel like Friday. But Sunday's coming. Sunday is coming. The day's going to come very soon where we all get to hug each other again, where we get to kiss each other on the cheek, laugh together, cry together. The day is coming where, again, red, yellow, white, or black, we will show our love for each other. We will fight for one another. And we will celebrate the day when Jesus is coming back. And until then, we will celebrate that he's with us in spirit. And that is a good day. So for right now, listen, guys, it's always been said that you can't really hear the voice of God in a hurricane. You hear him in the gentle whispers. I invite you, please look past the hurricanes. Look past the tragedies and the atrocities and listen for the whispers. Look past the hurt of Kobe Bryant and that whole situation and see the people gathering at the Staples Center for days, chanting, Kobe, Kobe, laughing together and crying together and praying together and leaving notes of prayers on the ground for other people to see. Guys, this part is personal, but it reflects a general reality. I'm a youth minister. Typically by this time, I'm doing missionary work. I'm going with teenagers to church camps. And I'm doing all kinds of great stuff. No complaints here. But it has always hurt me on Father's Day because I have never been able to celebrate Father's Day with my children until this year, when we were forced to spend more time with our families. Please don't make that a negative. Don't add to the statistics of domestic abuse. And look for all those families, all those videos of people just clowning around and putting TikToks on the internet and updating their Instagrams and updating their Facebooks, of having worship times on their Facebooks and on their social medias. Guys, don't forget that systematic abandonment has been a major issue for our youth for going on 20 or more years now. They miss mom and dad. And we know it. We've always known it. But the way our economic structure is built, we are a super fast country. And if you stop, you might lose your ability to feed your family. We know it, but we never could do anything about it. And so dinner time with the family was replaced with long hours at work. Attending your kids' sporting events or band concerts were replaced with long hours of work, but that's okay. I'll watch the video. And was nothing we could do about it, where all of a sudden now we are forced into the opportunity to spend time with our family, the opportunity that we may never see again. The opportunity to love each other, to laugh with our families, to cry with our families, to have real conversations, which, as we've seen lately, need to happen. The time to study God's Word together and to pray together. Could it be that that was a gift? Or at least that silver lining? Look past the riots and see the actual peaceful protests. People exercising their God-given First Amendment rights to assemble and have their voice heard, to instigate conversations that will be healthy. Look past the violence that has happened. Try to, at least. And see peoples of all colors kneeling together in prayer, hugging each other, loving each other, pray for the COVID situation. But you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you got to stand for something, no matter what the risk. Look past it all. Try. Don't forget. Listen, I'm not saying forget about the negative. Don't be naive. But at the same time, look towards the beauty. Look for God. Listen for the whisper. Look to the videos that you can see of men and women of all color assembling at the capitals around the country to sing together Amazing Grace. No, I'm not going to edit this out. How sweet this sound. Whew. That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. And I was blind, but now I see. Powerful words that not only for Christians and Jews, but for everyone to consider right now. Look past the hurt and the pain and the depression and look for the good. And I guarantee you will see beauty. But Jeremy, I feel so worthless. I feel like I can't do anything. We've been stuck in our homes. I'm just one voice. Does God even notice? Because we're praying and we're trying. But again, we've spent most of this year in isolation. Am I doing any good? I mean, let's face facts. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it even make a noise? Well, actually, no, it doesn't by definition of noise. I get your point. But we're not trees. I was told a story a couple of weeks ago. When I was dealing with this very issue of inadequacy and not doing enough and this and that. Like, dare I say, we all have a little bit this year. I was told just a couple of weeks ago a story that encouraged me. And I hope it does for you what it did for me. To preface this, you need to understand that a man by the name of David Gray told this to me. You see, last August, I decided to make a small change in my life, which has been a lot of hard work, but I decided to go back into acting. I took about a 20-year break. And long story short, I don't want to bore you with all the details. I was introduced to a family that runs a wonderful studio in Burbank, the Gray family. David Gray and his wife Chanel. They have two beautiful, very sweet girls. I can't tell you how much I've grown to love and respect this family. David and I, we meet on Skype and Zoom a few times a week. He's been helping me through this process. He told me this story a couple of weeks ago. You see, in the mid-90s, David got to be in a movie directed by the great Oliver Stone. The movie would be starring Anthony Hopkins as the title character, Nixon. David got to play younger Nixon. Basically, give or take, age 16, 17 into the mid-20s. And you know what? David was doing a really good job. Oliver Stone repeatedly told David, "You're doing a great job. You're setting the table for us. This is a great job, great job." And David knew that, it makes you feel good, but at the same time, there was something he was dreading. A scene that was going to be really, really hard for him, was really going to push his dynamics as an actor. You see, Nixon had an older brother named Harold. And if you know anything about Oliver Stone and the way that he creates his movies, he does a lot of research to try to put together his scripts. What he told David was that Harold was Nixon's moral compass. And quite honestly, when he died of tuberculosis, when Nixon lost that, you know what? A lot of the immoral decisions that Nixon made, he might not have made had he still had Harold Or at least he would have handled it better with a little bit more grace. I don't know. But the day would come where David had to film the scene of the day of Harold's funeral, where Nixon would be crying and would be, letting his frustrations out. And David dreaded that scene. He was not looking forward to that scene. And so finally the day came where he was supposed to film. And he came to the studio, and immediately Oliver Stone came to him and said, David, I need you to go into that room, and I need you to rehearse and get ready, because here we go. So David goes into the room. How am I going to do this, he thought. I mean, David's a really funny dude. He's a great actor, okay? He's a great actor. How's he going to do this? And then he had a moment. He thought of his brother. Okay, what if it was my brother? All right, and you know what? For several minutes, he was in character. He cried and he delivered his lines. It felt good, but you know what? A little bit later, he started thinking about football. The New York Giants, he's from New York. Gets out of character and loses it. After a little bit later, no. Okay, I gotta get this. All right. Imagine it was your dad. And again, he's in character and he's crying and he's giving his lines. And a little bit later, he's counting the ceiling tiles. This is hard. This is difficult to stay focused. It's hard. And then in walks Oliver Stone. Oops. Oliver, give me 3 minutes. I can get into character and I can do this. Nah, don't worry about it. No, Oliver, I can do this. No, I don't think you understand. We're just not going to shoot this shot at all. We're not going to film today. We're not going to shoot this. And then Oliver Stone hands him the dailies, a piece of paper that shows, okay, this is who we need. It's unusually short. Probably a few camera people and things like that. Only actor is David. And Oliver looked at him and said, you don't know this, but we snuck a camera in. And we filmed those moments where you were in character. I'm going to use that on my movie. And you know what? That scene is short. I went back and watched it. That's a great movie. But that scene was short. However, it set the table for the final act of the movie. I know what it's like to wonder where God is when everything is in chaos. I know what it's like to wonder if I'm doing enough, if I am enough. I know what it's like to have the depression of inadequacy, but God is watching. And you have no idea how He's going to use this. You have no idea how He's going to use these moments of you sitting down and praying with your children. You have no idea how He's going to use you kneeling in front of a television or a computer screen and praying for mercy. You have no idea how He's going to use those encouraging messages that you put on social media. You have no idea how He is going to use those cards that you might have written to send to somebody else. You have no idea how He's going to use the love that you are developing with your family. You have no idea how much God can do with what we think is very little. So celebrate with those who are celebrating and mourn with those who mourn. Because it is Friday. It feels like it at least. But Sunday's coming. Sunday is coming. Again, I hope that I didn't say any of this wrong. Again, if I did, please look past the idiocy and see the heart. I love you, and I love you all. Encourage those seniors, those graduating seniors. Guys, what you did was amazing. Never put that down and go with God. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you, and bless, do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice, and mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. If you need anything, wherever you're getting this, are you on Facebook or are you on YouTube? I don't know. Just shoot a comment. I'm not hard to find. Also, Jeremy Michael Garrett. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. Send me a message. Let me know how you're doing. One last thing. We can't give an applause in public. Yeah, if you come to our senior day, that's great. Not everybody's going to be able to do this, but I'll tell you what you can do. Again, if you're seeing this on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, I want you to get a video, short one, of you and your family together clapping and applauding. Mostly for our seniors because they need it, but for everybody who is surviving 2020 because we all deserve a round of applause. I love you guys. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you on Sunday.